and today I will be discussing the collaborative language model or the collaborative model. The collaborative model is all about the client and the therapist working together to solve these issues. This model revolves around how language shapes our reality. Language also shapes our interactions with people. By using the client's language, the therapist believes that the client can solve their own problem. The collaborative model was founded in the 80s by Anderson and Gulishan, who assumed that human beings are language systems, language meaning making systems. The therapeutic relationship. How do the client and therapist work together? The therapeutic relationship between the client and the therapist is as it sounds. It is about a collaborative effort. There's a mutual relationship between each, neither being above or below each other. As most systemic models, the client is viewed as experts, and the textbook states that the client is the teacher and the therapist is the learner. This is because the therapist knows nothing about the problem and background information. This comes from the client to share. The philosophical stance the therapist takes is that each meeting with each client is different because each client is different. The therapists also believe that the client's problems are created through language. They also believe that these problems can be solved through language. Shifting meanings and beliefs. In all the videos of collaborative therapy, the therapist tries to help each client see the other's point of view and even the different meanings they have for the same word. For example, the first video is about a husband and wife who are suffering with money issues. The husband's main issue is that rent's due within a week and that they only have $40 in their account. While the husband thinks the wife isn't responsible, the wife says that the opposite, and that he should just be a man and get another job. They aren't hearing each other and recognizing each other's definition for responsible. The therapist helps them listen to each other and try to put themselves in each other's shoes. The therapist has them sit and quietly listen to the other. In the video with the mother and daughter, they're at odds about family issues. The daughter is struggling in school and is withdrawn at home, but the daughter is upset that the dad's having an affair and the mom allows him to stay with the family. The mom says that the daughter is ungrateful and is being disrespectful. And she explains that she's not showing her gratefulness because she has her own room, and that the mom didn't grow up with having her own room when she was in Russia. They also have different views on the father cheating on the mom. The mom doesn't talk about it, and it's an adult situation, and that the daughter should stay in a child's place, whereas the daughter views marriage between two people and shouldn't have affairs. The therapist has the mom and daughter acknowledge that both of them were raised in different countries and different eras. Restructuring client interactions. It's important to restructure client interactions because it could be the cause of their problems. Collaborative language therapists believe that the client's problems are part of some language issue, whether it be a lack of seeing each other's perspective or simply struggling to find the balance. This model can have several different types of changes. The first one is cognitive. This type of change could simply involve recognizing that there are other points of view other than your own. It could also be recognizing that everyone has a different meaning to a word. For example, in the first video, the husband and wife both had different definitions of responsible. The husband believed that being responsible was keeping track of the budget and not spending money when you don't have money to spend, whereas the wife thought it was being responsible was about how much work a person does. The next one is behavioral changes. This is a type of change that could happen because the client is made aware of how their behaviors appear to others, or having them talk about their issues that could reduce certain behaviors. Like when the therapist was talking to the mother and daughter, and the daughter mentioned the father having an affair. The therapist mentioned how the daughter being upset about the affair could be affecting her behaviors. It could also cause emotional changes, which is our next topic. The affair causes the daughter to have an emotional reaction, like her withdrawing, without realizing that her mother's being affected by it. Next are the interventions for the collaborative model. First is conversational partners. The therapist actively listens to the client, and that the therapist will show they are listening by repeating specific parts to make sure that the therapist has the correct understanding. The next intervention is therapy as research. The therapist takes the role of researcher, trying to make sure they get the full story and picture from the client. The therapist makes sure by asking questions to gain understanding. Next is the client is the expert, which means only the client knows their experiences and their problem, and that the therapist doesn't have the point of view that the client does. Following is not knowing, which allows the client to create their own goals. Next is uncertainty, which is where the client and therapist don't know where the conversation will take them. Next is being public, which is where the therapist shares their thoughts and opinions on things they have heard or to offer ideas, which allows more room for honesty and will hopefully make the client more comfortable. Lastly is everyday ordinary life. The therapeutic conversation simulate regular conversations and there isn't any technical jargon. Clients are resilient. Collaborative therapists take the stance that the clients are resilient and that they are able to find the solution to their own problem, with just a little help of conversing with the therapist. It's important to note that the client took the initial step to come to therapy, which I view as the hardest part. If we focus on our client's strengths, it will help them recognize them as well. If the clients recognize their own strengths, it can motivate them to want better and possibly find their own solution. Collaborative therapy and the recovery model. The recovery model is all about the client being determined enough to go through therapy and having the support needed. Collaborative therapy is all about language and finding ways to solve our problems. As well, we see each other's point of view if the two work together. It could strengthen the support by helping the client's family see what they're going through. It shows the client their strengths and that they're capable of finishing recovery. Enhancing abilities. Using the collaborative model will allow for stronger bonds with the client by allowing us to interact on an equal field. It will also strengthen our listening skills because of the collaborative therapy. Having therapists take the role of the learner, we have to do more listening. The collaborative model also allows the clients to have more freedom because they're in charge of the conversation and have the option to set their own goals. These are my references. Thank you for listening.